Big night in Texas. Primary ballots poured in to determine who will be the Democrat and Republican nominees for the Senate in the midterm elections this November, and a bunch of other races, too, of interest. Now, on the GOP side, incumbent Senator John Cornyn and challenger State Attorney General Ken Paxton will be heading to a runoff election in May. By all accounts, it's expected to be an expensive and a dirty fight for the nomination.
But the big news of the night came from the Democrats, where State Representative James Talarico beat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett to secure his party's nomination for Cornyn's Senate seat. But leading up to the primary, it wasn't clear that we would see results on election night. The state Supreme Court handed down an emergency decision yesterday, reversing a lower court's ruling that extended early voting hours in Dallas County. That came after a last-minute voting change in the Republican primary caused confusion and led to some Democratic voters showing up to the wrong polling location. As a result of that confusion, a Dallas County judge ordered polling places to stay open 2 more hours to give voters a chance to cast their ballots. But the state's high court overturned that, saying that any votes cast by the voters not in line by 7 p.m. should be separated. That ruling ultimately sparked allegations of voter suppression. Both Talarico and Crockett spoke out against that ruling last night. Take a listen.
This is what Republicans like to do.
They cheat all the time.
And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why.
The voter suppression in my home county and in Congresswoman Crockett's home county underscores the gravity of this moment.
The ruling is temporary while the changes that caused the confusion are challenged in court. Voters who arrived late cast provisional ballots, and it's still unclear whether they'll ultimately be counted.
Despite that, the primary race was called late last night for Talarico, who secured about 53% of the vote, according to Decision Desk HQ. Crockett received just over 45%. Here was Talarico speaking to a watch party crowd just before the call was made.
We are not just trying to win an election. We are trying to fundamentally change our politics. And it's working. Tonight, the people of our state gave this country a little bit of hope. And a little bit of hope is a dangerous thing.
In the hours after the race was called, Democrats flocked to get behind their new Senate nominee, Texas Congressman Greg Casar, writing on X, James Talarico is the future of the Democratic Party. He unites working people of all kinds to take on the billionaires who are making life unaffordable. He's going to show Texas Republicans how powerful working people are when we stand together. Just this morning, Congresswoman Crockett conceded the race and called for party unity. Quote, Texas is primed to turn blue, and we must remain united because this is bigger than any one person. She said in a statement, with the primary behind us, Democrats must rally around our nominees and win.
Now, Mehdi Hassan echoing that cautious optimism, writing on X, Dems may have a chance in Texas in November. I think last night was the first moment of truth. You know, we have a long stretch of primaries coming up. I was looking at the schedule and the dates like, okay. But, you know, we have a really opportunity. I think there's a big opportunity for Democrats because Republicans are now in disarray. I think for Paxton, having another election is probably his worst nightmare. For Cornyn, this was a great thing because he knew that he wasn't having the support that he needed from the young MAGA base and from some newer Republicans. But he knows that the establishment supported him, and he's going to keep having money poured into his campaign, which will make this a really dirty dirty race. Ken Paxton has a lot of stuff that could go against him, and it could get really messy. We know that he's in a really bad divorce. We know that he has some allegations against him. So all this could come out with campaign spending. It could really get sloppy while Democrats have a firm candidate, Talarico, that can continually be propelled up. I mean, this man's a former school teacher. He's the person that took on the measured, balanced approach toward politics. He appeals to those independents for this general election and the people that maybe don't know which side of the aisle they fall on, that like President Trump's policies a little bit, but don't like his personality or the way that he behaves sometimes. So Talarico is going to continue to build on this momentum, and Republicans are going to keep fighting over the seat.
Yeah, look, Texas is a red state, so this is going to be a difficult one to pick up. Talarico is going to have to do like 6 points better than the typical Democratic nominee, or I mean, he has to make it up some way. He could do 3 points better, and the Republican does 3 points worse. You know, same difference. Yes, Democrats, I think, have set themselves up for success by saying no to Jasmine Crockett, who I think was going to have a very hard time statewide. And James Talarico looks like he might, his views are not, frankly, that moderate, but he comes across as a moderate or reassuring. I mean, race plays into that a little bit. On the GOP side, John Cornyn, the embattled incumbent, actually had a better night than I expected. Now, a good night would have been clearing the 50% threshold and winning outright and having no runoff. Because there's 3 candidates in this race. Wesley Hunt.
Yeah, Wesley Hunt jacked it up for both of them.
Right, he got like
13% of the vote.
But most of Wesley Hunt's voters, their second choice, is disproportionately Ken Paxton. So when it goes down to 2 of them, it is not clear that John Cornyn is going to win that. In fact, I would still say he's something of an underdog here. But what this means, because he finished first, if Ken Paxton had won this outright, even without getting 50% of the vote, Donald Trump was going to sweep in and was going to endorse Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is the MAGA candidate. MAGA loves him. Turning Point USA endorsed him. He has a good relationship with Trump people. So he's courting. Trump has not weighed in. But this keeps Trump at bay because it's not clear. Trump doesn't want to endorse someone who's not going to go on to win. He would, I'm sure his advisors are telling him, we could really, control of the Senate could hang in the balance of this race. I'm sure his advisors are telling him, and he's agreeing, no matter how much you might like Ken Paxton, we can't lose control of the Senate. So right. I'm sure they would rather John Cornyn be the nominee. But if Paxton's going to win the nomination, Trump wants to endorse him and get behind him and keep this and full-throatedly help and get him to defeat Talarico. This keeps it ambiguous enough that I see the White House sitting it out again for now, and that's, again, a win by default for Cornyn.
But also for President Trump, it's a decision between your ego, or if you want to jump in, if he preferred Paxton and doesn't really love Cornyn, if he doesn't get involved, you're right, then I don't know that he'd want to do that to the detriment of his own party moving forward.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like he dislikes John Cornyn. John Cornyn has not been, I get he's perceived as not being MAGA-y enough because he's not as bombastic, and he doesn't have very significant policy or even disagreements with Trump. If you compare to someone else who lost their primary, it was Dan Crenshaw, who is a kind of prominent Republican who has criticized Trump a little bit, is more of an old school Bush, John McCain neocon. He got crushed in his primary. He's gone. He's done. So John Cornyn isn't quite in that camp, I think.
And I think what Texas showed us is a larger picture, perhaps, for the appetite of the Democratic Party going forward. I think if we balance and look at what happened in New York and look at what happened in Texas, there's still a big, stark divide between what 2 dramatically different parts of the country want, like Mamdani or somebody way more moderate, Talarico.
Speaking of endorsements that didn't pan out, Kamala Harris, of course, had made her last-minute endorsement of Jasmine Crockett. Not enough.
Well, let me tell you why
Jasmine over the line.
I didn't know if that endorsement was actually that relevant, because in 2020, Democrats made major strides in Texas, which has started to get this energy that Texas could possibly turn blue one day.
You don't want to
wait, let me finish. In 2024, when Kamala ran, they fell back from the progress they had made. So I don't know that Kamala was that popular specifically in Texas.
That's what I'm saying. Kamala's the kiss of death.
So I don't know. That's why I said I don't know that she would want that endorsement. And when everybody was like, yeah, Kamala jumped in too little too late, I was kind of like, well, she could have probably just...
Well, right. It would have been nice for Kamala if then Jasmine Crockett won and she could say, I helped get her over the line. I'm still relevant and important. I should be the presidential candidate. Didn't really pan out that way, Kamala. Sorry about that. Up next, Smoothie King fires 2 employees who allegedly refused to serve Trump supporters. We'll be right back.